clarification purposes, earlier on I did a video called The Positives. This one is the negatives, okay? So, both in equal measure. I do want to say at this point, the positives are far stronger than the negatives. The positives are all about the all-round overall performance of David Moyes. I think it's fair to say that. The negatives are, there's a bit of transfer window, but it's largely based on, I think, the last week, and then certainly what we saw against Norwich. What we saw against Leeds in the league game, and some comments in particular which have really annoyed me about David Moyes. And I wanted to basically be able to have a go at these comments, really, but still have some context, and that's what the other video is for. The other video is for context and overall what I think of David Moyes. His comments, which I'm going to deal with now, I'm not impressed with at all. I paraphrase here. I will paraphrase what David Moyes said. He basically said, for the last third of that game, quarter of that game against Leeds, that he knew, he said, I knew Mikey was knackered, basically. He was talking about Mikel Antonio. He knew Mikel Antonio was knackered, but there was nothing he could do about it. We needed a goal. We needed to stay on. Basically, that's the situation we're in. What could I possibly do? I just thought, oh, mate. Oh, goodness gracious me. Where do we start with this, and where do we start with that comment? First of all, you've got to take it at face value. I'm not sure he believes it, but let's take it at face value like he does believe what he was saying. Mikey was knackered. What could I... But hey, look, what could I do about it? I had to play him. Well, mate, it's your fault for having one striker. I mean, it really is. It's your fault for having one striker there. What could you have done about it? You could have brought someone in on loan. I understand that you might be waiting, that you might have a budget. Let's say the budget is 30 million. That you might not want to spend that budget until the right player comes along. Everyone's going mad, by the way. Not everyone, by the way. Sorry, I do have a habit of saying everyone. I don't mean everyone. There were a lot of people going mad when Southampton bought Adam Armstrong. Why didn't we go and buy him? I don't know what they bought him for. 20, 25, 30 million, who knows? I knew from the first moment I saw him, he's too diminutive for David Moyes. I knew it straight away. And I said in a video when everyone was saying what brilliant business Aston Villa had done, and I said in the video that I'm not so sure. I mean Aston Villa by getting Ings, and then consequently what Southampton would go on and do by getting Adam Armstrong. If he'd have done that, he'd have basically wasted 25, 30 million. I understand David Moyes doesn't want to waste his transfer budget. He wants to wait for his main guy, whoever that may be. But bring someone in. Just because you can't get your main guy for 30 million on the 5-year contract doesn't mean you bring nobody in. There are stopgaps. There are things you can do. And the fact of the matter is, when you get to a point where even you admit that you are having to, by his words, you have to wrap your striker in cotton wool. You've got to send a personal doctor away with him when he goes abroad just to look after him, to massage him. I don't know, stick his legs in an ice bucket. Oh, that'd be a big bucket, wouldn't it? But a very long bucket, a bucket for the leg. When you're having to do that, you're already admitting that it ain't good enough. Basically, everything is built on a house. It's basically built on tiny little stilts, tiny little matchstick stilts. The whole foundation of the house. I just don't know why you'd put yourself in that position. So I had no sympathy for him when he said that. Also, if you're that worried about that game, why on earth would you not give Mikel Antonio 60 minutes in the FA Cup game against Leeds? Give him 60 minutes against Norwich. And then maybe, just maybe, he wouldn't be so completely knackered when he got to the third game in 8 days. You know, and I know, Mikel Antonio cannot play 3 games in 8 days. David Moyes knows it as well. That's why he's talking about wrapping him in cotton wool. That's why he's got his own private masseuse. He's got all that, you know. It's absolutely ridiculous what he was saying there. And he only has himself to blame. And I also didn't like what he was saying about the COVID, about the games getting cancelled, and the Premier League had done this, that, and the other wrong, and why didn't West Ham have a rest? I've got every sympathy. I think West Ham have done everything right. I do have every sympathy, but it wasn't a surprise to him. He did have forewarning. It wasn't like they told him the day before, oh, by the way, he didn't tell him on a Tuesday, oh, by the way, you're playing Norwich tomorrow. No, he had a couple of weeks. He still had enough time to play, and he still decided to play the first team all throughout. Now, I thought that was a good idea at the time because I just was working on the assumption that David Moyes had the data to suggest everybody would be fit. Because that's what he's got. They've got sports scientists. They're all monitored. Have you seen they wear those vests? They've got pads all over them. They're monitored. The amount of steps they take, the amount of sprints, their heart rate, their fitness, the amount of lactic acid in their muscles. All of that stuff is measured. So I just assumed that data would have come back. But clearly, from saying everyone's knackered, clearly they weren't able to play 3 games. So one of them has to go. And I'm sorry, it probably should have been the Cup. Before I go any further on this rant, and by the way, I've not finished, this rant is sponsored by the OneFootball app. You won't find this rant on the OneFootball app. What you will find is West Ham's team news, West Ham's results, West Ham's league's position, West Ham's transfer gossip. Everything to do with West Ham is in the link in the description below. What you do is you open the OneFootball app, click to support West Ham, puts all the West Ham news into one place for you, delivers it to your mobile phone. Best of all, it's free. That's the OneFootball app. And then we get to the point where, and I think this is what I don't like, it's almost the fact that David Moyes is playing victim. Oh, well, what else could I do, Mikel Antonio? I've only got one striker. Your fault, mate. Oh, what else could I do? They'd put all the league fixtures together. Well, okay. Yeah, all right, that's not his fault, but he still had a choice to do something about it. He didn't have to... He didn't have to prove them right, did he? He could have done something a little bit different. And then it's the thing where, like he's got no substitutes. Well, mate, that's your fault. That's your fault. There are actually people to use. It is just your inability. Not inability. Inability is the wrong thing, isn't it? Your desire to just bring Masuaku on and Yarmolenko on all the time. I said in the build-up, and Gio said in the build-up, that basically people like Okoflex and whatnot they're not going to be the guys coming on. Granted, Perkins came on. I got proved wrong in that one. Okay, hold my hands up to that. But what we both say, and we always say, the first 2 substitutes are going to be. It's going to be Masuaku and Yarmolenko. Well, if I know it, Satimi shared, Bielsa certainly knew it. And they just don't cause any threat. I don't know why he's doing it. These are not players that are in his long-term plans. I know I covered this in yesterday's video. But it was another thing that you look at Moyes, and it's another thing that he's moaning about. About the lack of squad depth. Well, that's your fault. You can't have it both ways. Okay? I am more than happy. If what Moyes wanted to come out and say is this board aren't giving me any money, I'd be right behind him. I really would. I really would. I'd be doing anti-board videos. I'd be doing all that stuff, just like I've done in the past. But David Moyes, by his own admissions, has said the money's been there. He said it in the last transfer window. He said after he sold Sebastian Haller, I've got money to buy a striker. I'm just taking my time. It's a year later. It's a year. He still hasn't bought a striker. Yet he's moaning that he doesn't have a striker. Yet he's admitted he's got the money for one. I mean, it's honestly, it's a bit like me being sat outside Greg's with a £5 in my pocket saying, I'm just starving, I just want to eat, I just want something to eat, I can't find it. Go and buy you sort of pasty, mate. If I just compare, I'm not sure if I've compared Sebastian Haller to a Cornish pasty. Maybe not. I think a lot of it he's bringing on himself for this, and I just think he needs to move a little bit quicker. And this is the other frustration. I totally understand, hopefully as you'd have heard from the Positives video, how he takes his time to make a decision. There's nothing wrong with that. You make a decision, but he has the time. There is that time when there's no transfer window. That's when he has the time. He can really mull over it. Crunch the numbers. Send the scouts out. Have a look. Look at the videos. Look at the dossiers on these players. That's the time to do it. Yet when the clock strikes 12 or whatever it does and the transfer window opens, be ready. There's no point getting to the transfer window and dithering. Because you're losing games. You can't claim these points back. And that's why part of it is on him. I think what Newcastle and others have done regarding playing under COVID rules is disgusting. I really do. And I'm pleased we hold the moral high ground on that. But there is a chance to circumvent that crap. And the way you do that is by making sure you have players that come in. That you've got those. Don't tell me he hasn't got a clue what centre-back he wants. Don't tell me he doesn't know what attacking midfielder he wants, what centre forward he wants, what left back he wants. He does. We've got a new owner there who clearly he's made an injection, an investment into the club. Now, whether that's gone to pay off debt, or wherever it's gone, whatever he paid, 200 million, whatever it might have been, that's gone somewhere. Now, all right, fine, if it's gone to pay off the debt, then borrow some money, still give him some money, borrow 30 million again and give it to him, or don't pay off the 30 million of debt and give it to David Moyes. But David Moyes says he's got money there. Bring the players in, because by the time you get to the end of the window, and I do believe he will bring people in at the end of the window, I really do, by the time you get to that point, you may have surrendered 6-7 points. It's gone. It's done. It's done. I mean, we're lucky we got Kidderminster Harriers in the next round. We really are. But that being said, I think if we'd have played like we played against Leeds in the league, against Kidderminster Harriers, Kidderminster turn us over as well. Is it Kettering? Is it Kidderminster? All the same, isn't it, really? Sorry, unless you're from there, in which case you're probably just highly offended and insulted by what I said, and I do apologise. It's one of them. It's one of them. Kingstonian. It's something beginning with K. Anyway, Kellogg's United. Who knows? My point is, if he doesn't bring the signings in, it could all be gone. And he's got a lot going for him. He makes, as I said, he makes players better. As I said in the other video, makes players better. By and large, gets his signings right. But how many points do we lose by him being slow? Now, I guess Moyes would probably argue, actually, in the long term, we gain more because I don't have someone coming in and wasting. Basically, what Moyes saying is, I won't waste your money. I won't waste 45 million on a striker like Hilaire, who won't work out, or 38 million or whatever it was on Felipe Anderson, who it won't work out. And I know people will say Vlasic, as I do understand it. Vlasic was 17 million. 17 million. With if West Ham win the Champions League and Vlasic wins, Vlasic wins a Golden Boot and West Ham finish in the Champions League. But basically, if lots of things happen, if all the planets align, I believe the Vlasic deal goes to 27 million. I think we'll end up playing about 17, 18 for Vlasic. It's not. I think Vlasic will turn out to be cheaper than what we end up playing Hull for Bowen, just to put that into context. So I think Moyes will turn around and say, "Oh, I will be more careful with your money." But I tell you what, he needs to do something. Not because we will falter and we'll go down the league. We could, even if we got nobody in, and David Moyes still managed Mikel Antonio, even without bringing anyone in, I think we'd still get top 6, 7. I really do. But that's a little bit. How much does he want it? And that's the other thing. That's the other thing that I question about him. I understand he's got this long-term plan, and I got faith in that long-term plan as well. But come on, mate, have a little bit of ambition in the short term as well. Do you know what I mean? Just those extra points. He was the one talking about it at the start of the season. We were 2 points behind Chelsea. If we get those 2 points from somewhere, might have just lost them against Leeds.